I try not to make any predictions on markets generally, and that goes in spades for crypto, really, because, we could be sitting here talking this time next year, and if Bitcoin was at $5,000 or $50,000, it just wouldn't surprise me, because the market is, so heavily driven by sentiment. So, it kind of feels to me like at the moment that this kind of, contagion, this kind of fear kind of still has legs to run. But you never know what can catalyze crypto. I kind of look back to, only last year, 2021, and we saw kind of, two huge peaks in crypto, and in between a 50% fall in the price of Bitcoin. And a lot of that came down to what was going on Elon Musk's Twitter feed. So, I think kind of, if you're looking at the next 12 months or so, who knows? It feels like there's a lot of negativity out there, and it's hard to see, that fading soon. So if crypto does come back, it kind of has to really climb quite a big wall of worry at the moment.
There's a huge cult-like following almost in the crypto space as well. Many people, despite it going down, will say, no, this is the future. This is where we think the future lies. But how much has sentiment been hit from investors, and particularly retail investors, by this FTX debacle, given the size of this and the global footprint of the company?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're absolutely right to pick up on that aspect, because this has definitely, I mean, it's been a huge blow, hasn't it, to credibility for crypto. I think, it feels to me like it's kind of a bit of a punch in the face, but not a knockout blow, because, as you say, there are plenty of people who really believe in this stuff. They're not going to change their views. They're not going to disappear overnight. There's actually quite a big industry now that is kind of geared towards providing services around this stuff. So I don't think it's down and out by any means. But I guess, from my point of view, is still a big question about the long-term adoption of crypto as, a means of exchange by consumers, by businesses, and even by investors. And I think that kind of deep uncertainty really means that, for the foreseeable, it just remains a really volatile and highly speculative asset. And I'd also kind of put in the frame the fact that, central banks are now either, launching or looking at launching their own digital currencies. And that actually, obviously it's the establishment doing that. And so, those who've been drawn to crypto because of its anti-establishment credentials might not care about that. But that does also perhaps undermine some of the benefits that crypto purports to bring to the table.
Laith, just one question from me. Good morning to you, sir. Is this affecting the real world? We talk about crypto over here, and I talk about real investments with real companies and real bonds and real govies and what have you over here as well. Is the one from the former affecting the latter, i.e. sentiment in terms of flows, in terms of actually money available to invest elsewhere?
I don't think we're seeing that yet. Obviously, kind of, a lot of money's been lost from FTX. I think if we had kind of a more system-wide issue, then you could start to see it affecting other assets. But I don't really see that, because I guess crypto, there's a lot of money in it, but it's kind of built up as a fairly separate ecosystem. So of course there are people who are nursing losses, but certainly the impression I get anecdotally from people who've put money into crypto is that they've done it with most of them have done it with a relatively small amount of money that they have been willing to lose, as a little bit of a kind of punt on digitalization. So I'm not seeing that yet. I think perhaps at the beginning of this year, we maybe saw a little bit of the reverse feeding through, which is that we saw a big sell-off in speculative assets more generally, and perhaps that actually started, Bitcoin and crypto on the downward leg of this particular downward leg of the roller coaster. But as yet, no signs of spillover into more traditional assets.